My name is Christopher X. Barant.
What's the X stand for?
The only name in English that you could imagine, Xavier, Catholic, of course, Catholic parents, St. Francis Xavier, the Catholic saint. So I love the name. And I'm from Milwaukee, suburbia, suburban boy, radicalized by the Vietnam War era, protester, and then lover of Eastern religion and meditation. So, and depth psychology and the inner life. I'm all for the inner life. So that's what I'm about. The city, this big elm tree was hanging over the telephone wires, and the city came by and they chopped this tree down. And I said, no, leave the stump. And then the stump came about, and I said, we got to put the library on the stump. In addition to the whole thing, I had this vision of having, like you said on your website, special, what is special about your library?
Yes, exactly.
And well, besides the green roof, I wanted this one to be a Jungian psychology library, because that was my fascination. So I have 120 books by Jung and all of his subsidiaries, and every nuance of thought past Jung, and I'm like, I've read most of these, now what do I do, Then I thought I'd put my favorite things you get from books, clarity, intelligence, understanding, imagination, wisdom. I thought I'd try to advertise it. It's a little rough. Now I see I need a lock here. It's got to be, in fact, I was even thinking of putting a lock on it and putting a sign that said library hours. So there would be like a sense of restriction, you can't just come here anytime. You have to come when the library's in session. They don't have a lot of books they do not have in the library. If you go to a library sales, a lot of the books for sale at libraries are books that they had that they're just casting off. Right. There's huge oceans of information and that are just being like forgotten, sent out to sea, I majored in comparative literature, so world literatures are what's important to me. So that's why I keep doing this, plus my Jungian interests, which is about storytelling. So all stories, even a nonfiction book, is a kind of story. Yeah. So we can't live without stories. We're trapped in stories. If you can see the story you're in, you have a chance of getting out of it. All fairy tales, the underneath or the inner meaning of all fairy tales came to me. And I began devouring fairy tales and Jungian literature and then other stories and more literature, and I just saw the secret significance that's laying everywhere, and every motion, every nuance of thought has a story behind it. You just don't know it until you've done enough studying. So scholars and information people who go into the dusty, dark corners of the libraries, there you find the wisdom of the ages.
Well, I'm Jim Beecher. I'm not a master carpenter, but my grandfather was. And whatever I learned about carpentry was from making a lot of mistakes and from being under his feet when I was a little kid, because we lived in the apartment above their apartment, and so I would spend whatever time I could with my grandfather in his sawdust-covered basement until he got angry with me or something.
Well, when he is everything he does, he made our summer house out there, and this is leftovers from that. Because when I saw the first article in the paper, I said, "Oh, I want one of those," and so we have scraps. And but I said I wanted it to look not like our house, but fun. Like cute. A little cute was what I said. The two ladies that came by today had 4 books in their hand, and they were visiting 3 other libraries. So they were on their Sunday walk, and they were just going to go That's what they are. They're just amazing. And so you talk to them, they talk to you, they talk to somebody else. It's another way to meet your neighbors and friends and talk about books. My mother was not a reader. My father was. He went to bed every night with a napkin or a handkerchief under his chin, Cheetos by his side, and whatever book he was reading with a pillow stuck up like this. I don't know how he read like that, but that's how he did. You know, there's Danielle Steele in here, there's Nora Roberts in here, but there's also The Nation Perspectives. Don't know exactly. In Country. That sounds like, I have to go look at that one. So, I think it's just wonderful. Have you put any scientific books in there?
No.
Maybe you've got some of those you want to see if people want to
Well,
read.
no, there would be some obscure books that would live in here for a long time.
Yeah, oscillation and renal hyphenation. Not a big demand for
Well,
that.
I think he has some from undergraduate school, let alone graduate school. But
Yeah.
you're weeding him out, sort of. But you don't want to ever get rid of a book. That's a problem, isn't it? Well, maybe not for you guys, but it is for me.
How did you first hear about your little libraries?
From Michelle.
What is it about little libraries that made you want to set up one?
Because of the community.
What was the coolest thing that happened so far with your little library?
People came over here, like old people and young people come at nighttime.
What is your favorite book?
It's the shoes.
Okay,
Which one is it? Can you take it out?
Mr. Shoes, he said.
No, my dad put this one up.
And was that the first one, and this was the second one?
No, this one's the first one.
This is the first, that second one.
This been here the longest.
Did you help decide how they were gonna look?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, my dad did this one.
I think Tom did the other one. I think according to him, the first time around, I think Tom did the other one.
Tom is my road-working buddy. Say, I want a book, and then they take it.
And the little library doesn't have a lock on it, so people can just...
So if people had to return it to anybody else's friend, I guess.
Well, I just thought it would be good and fun for the neighborhood. I have met more of my extended neighbors in the past year since we've had the library up than I have in the 25 years that we've lived here. And the neighborhood has just really adopted the libraries, which is very cool. Right now, I haven't supplied any of the books that are in here. These are all donations from the neighbors. And if we need things, I put out a call on the neighborhood Facebook page, and people, okay, I'll drop something off if I'm thinking about it. If people are getting books, lots of times they're dropping books off too. I see moms driving up in minivans and their kids running out, people walking their dogs. I even woke up at 3 in the morning once and somebody was returning a book. So we're open 24/7.
Yeah. Can you tell me the story of how it started, how it became 2 little libraries?
2 little libraries. Well, after we built this one, I realized that we needed something that was deeper for the bigger kids'
Oh, okay.
picture books. So that's how we ended up with 2. And
You need a deeper and taller one.
deeper and taller for picture books, yeah. Daniel picked this one out, and he built this one, and those were the colors that he picked. And this paint matches the front of my house, so that's what that is. It's, yeah, house paint.
Great.
They're functional,
Yeah.
and that's the important thing. And they stood up all winter, so.
What was it about the little library that appealed to you immediately like that? What was it that
Oh, because it's such a community thing, and I was a teacher, and I love the idea of promoting literacy, and it's wonderful. I love when it's warm. I love to be out here, maybe reading and watching people going by, and especially now the weather's getting nicer. People are starting to stop, and you see people standing there for a couple of minutes with their dog, up anxiously pulling on the leash, and they're just reading through or looking at the inside of the the cover and trying to find out what the story's about, see if they'd like it, you know, and it's really nice. One time the garbage man stopped, and seriously, they were picking up the trash, and I happened to glance out, saw them getting my trash, okay. And then I heard him stop. I'm like, what is he stopping for? So I went out here. He stopped right across from my library, and he's hanging out the window of the truck looking at it, reading it. And then he got out of the truck, went to the library, got a book, went back in his truck, and took off. I loved it. I was like, great, the garbage man stopped. And little children love it. I wish I had more children's books because the kids love it. I mean, they just stop all the time, and it's really fun. But
I just want to ask one more question, just because I'm curious. Is there any one person's story that has deeply impacted your life, or that has really inspired you?
oh, this might sound a little weird, but my late husband. I mean, he was the most wonderful man I ever knew. And he was a pediatrician. He loved children. He lived for his job. He had, at the end, he had terrible metastasized melanoma, and he worked until 5 days before he passed away because he could not bear to not go to work. It was so important to him. And he influenced a lot of who I am, I think. His kindness, his gentleness. I feel changed. So, okay. Anything else?